Tay walked into the medical bay with his shirt already off. He had done this examination 3 times before, and it never took more than 20 minutes. The room was cold as always and smelled like cleaning chemicals mixed with something sweet that he could never quite identify. Dr. Wellness stood by the scanning table, adjusting the controls on the large machine that hung from the ceiling. The doctor was a Zetherian, which meant he looked like a giant mantis wearing clothes. His forearms moved independently, each one pressing buttons and checking screens. His large compound eyes reflected the blue light from the monitors. "Good morning, Tay," Dr. Wellness said. His voice came from a translator device on his chest because his real voice was just clicking sounds. "Please lie down on the table. This will be quick." Tay climbed onto the cold metal table and lay flat on his back. He stared up at the scanning device above him. It looked like a ring of lights and sensors. He had asked once how it worked, and Dr. Wellness had explained something about quantum resonance and cellular mapping. But Tay had not really understood. "Same as always, Doc," Tay said. "Just checking that I am not dying, right?" "Correct," Dr. Wellness replied. "All crew members need quarterly health evaluations. It is a safety requirement." The scanner hummed to life. Blue light washed over Tay's body from head to toe. He felt nothing, but he knew the machine was reading everything inside him. His bones, his organs, his blood, even his DNA. The technology was far beyond anything humans had invented on their own. Tay had been working on the trade vessel Harmony's Edge for 5 years now. He fixed the fusion drives and kept the ship's power systems running. It was good work, and it let him see the galaxy. He was one of only 12 humans on a crew of 97 aliens from different species. His tattoos covered most of his chest, both arms, and his back. He had gotten his first one when he was 19, a small symbol on his ankle. Over the years, he had added more. A tiger stretched across his right shoulder and down his arm. A phoenix spread its wings across his back. Geometric patterns wrapped around his left arm in perfect lines and angles. Korean characters ran down his ribs, words his grandfather had spoken to him before he died. Each tattoo had taken hours of pain. Each one meant something to him. Dr. Wellness was watching his monitors when suddenly every screen turned red. An alarm started beeping, loud and urgent. The doctor's head snapped up and all 4 of his hands froze in place. "What is wrong?" Tay asked, sitting up quickly. His heart started beating faster. "Stay still," Dr. Wellness said. His voice sounded confused. "The scanner has triggered an alert. This has never happened before." The main screen above the table now showed Tay's body as a glowing outline, but there were bright red marks all over the image, highlighting his tattoos. Words appeared on the screen in several alien languages. The translator converted them to English for Tay to read. Caution, ancient warrior. Classification marks detected, subject bears. Combat identification symbols cross-reference. Galactic warrior registry warning. Potential military combatant. Tay stared at the words. Then he laughed. "Doc, those are just tattoos. You know art, decoration?" But Dr. Wellness was not laughing. He was typing rapidly on multiple screens at once, his forearms moving in a blur. "The medical database is flagging your markings as warrior symbols. It is comparing them to historical records from extinct civilizations." "That is crazy," Tay said. "I am an engineer. I fix machines. These tattoos are just things I thought looked cool." More information appeared on the screens. The tiger on Tay's shoulder was now highlighted in yellow. Text appeared beside it. "Predator Totem. Used by Kryn Empire warriors to signify successful solo hunt of apex predator species." The phoenix on his back turned orange on the scan. Resurrection symbol. Vothan berserker mark indicating survival of mortal injury in combat. The Korean characters on his ribs glowed white. Ancestral honor script. Sacred warrior lineage identifier used by 47 documented civilizations. Tay slid off the table and walked to the screen. He pointed at the tiger. "I got this because tigers are cool and because I am Korean. It is a cultural thing. Tigers are important in Korean art and stories." He pointed at the phoenix. "This one I got after I survived a bad accident in college. A shuttle crash. 6 people died, but I lived. It is about rebirth and second chances." He touched his ribs where the characters were. "And these words are from my grandfather. He was in the military and he told me to always honor my family and never give up. I got them after he died." Dr. Wellness watched him carefully. "But you understand what you are describing?" You marked yourself after surviving a near-death experience. You carry the words of a warrior ancestor on your body. You chose a predator as your symbol. These are exactly the traditions of warrior marking. Tay opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. He had never thought about it that way. On Earth, millions of people have tattoos, Tay said. They are normal. They are fashion, art, self-expression. Perhaps, Dr. Wellness said slowly, but the medical database contains information from 40,000 years of galactic history. These patterns you wear on your skin are not random. They match warrior identification systems from dozens of different species across the galaxy, species that no longer exist because they destroyed themselves in wars. The room felt colder now. Tay looked down at his arms, at the ink that covered his skin. He had always been proud of his tattoos. They were part of who he was. What are you saying, Doc? Dr. Wellness turned to face him fully. I am saying that I need to report this to the captain. If humans are unconsciously following ancient warrior traditions, the Galactic Council will want to know. They will want to understand why a species that claims to seek peace carries the marks of war on their bodies. Tay felt anger rising in his chest. We are not warriors. We are just people. These are just tattoos. Maybe, Dr. Wellness said, but we need to find out for certain. The doctor pressed a button and the screens went dark. The alarm stopped beeping. But Tay knew that something had changed. His simple health examination had become something much bigger. He grabbed his shirt and pulled it on, covering the tattoos that had suddenly become dangerous. As he walked toward the door, Dr. Wellness called after him. Tay, please do not leave the ship. The captain will want to speak with you soon. Tay nodded and left the medical bay. The corridor outside was bright and busy with crew members moving between shifts. No one looked at him differently. No one knew that the medical scanner had just called him a warrior. But as he walked back to his quarters, Tay could not stop thinking about what Dr. Wellness had said. About the tiger and the phoenix and the words on his ribs. About the pain he had endured to get each tattoo, sitting for hours while needles pushed ink under his skin. Maybe they were not just art after all. The communications room was crowded. Tay, Una, Captain Thoris, and Dr. Wellness all stood around the main display screen. They were waiting for a response from Earth. The captain had sent a priority request to speak with a human historian, someone who could explain tattoo culture and human history. The screen flickered to life and a woman's face appeared. She was older, maybe 60, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She wore glasses and a professor's jacket. Text below her face identified her as Professor Bora Lim, Department of Cultural Anthropology, Seoul University. Captain Thoris, she said, bowing her head slightly. Your message was quite alarming. You said this was urgent? Thank you for responding quickly, Professor, the captain said. We need you to help us understand something about human tattoo traditions. Professor Lim looked at Yuna and Tay. Her eyes lingered on Tay for a moment. I see. Well, I have studied body modification practices across human cultures for 30 years. What specifically do you need to know? Yuna stepped forward. Professor, we have discovered that human tattoos match patterns used by ancient alien warrior civilizations. The Galactic database is flagging them as combat identification marks. We need to know if there is a connection. The professor's eyebrows rose. That is fascinating. May I see the comparison data? Dr. Wellness sent the files through the communication link. Professor Lim's eyes moved back and forth as she read through the information. Her expression changed from curious to serious to troubled. I see, she said finally. Yes, I can understand why this would concern the Galactic Council. The similarities are striking. But they are just coincidences, right? Tay asked. Humans developed tattoos independently. We did not copy alien warriors. Professor Lim looked at him. Mr. Tay, may I see your tattoos? Tay hesitated, then removed his shirt. He turned slowly, showing the tiger, the phoenix, the geometric patterns, and the Korean script. Professor Lim studied each one carefully through the screen. Tell me about these, she said. Why did you choose them? Tay explained each tattoo. The tiger for Korean heritage and strength. The phoenix for surviving the shuttle crash. The patterns because he liked the aesthetic. The script to honor his grandfather's military service. Professor Lim nodded slowly. And how long did each one take to complete? The tiger took about 6 hours. The phoenix took 8 hours over 2 sessions. The patterns were 4 hours. The script was 3 hours. And the pain? Tay shrugged. It hurt, but I could handle it. You just pushed through. Interesting, the professor said. She adjusted her glasses. Captain Thoris, I need to show you something. May I share files with your system? Go ahead, the captain said. Images began appearing on the screen. Ancient humans with tattoos, cave paintings showing tattooed figures, mummies with preserved skin showing elaborate markings, historical texts with descriptions of tattoo ceremonies. Tattooing is one of the oldest human practices, Professor Lim said. We have found evidence dating back at least 5,000 years, possibly longer. The Iceman Otzi had over 60 tattoos on his body. Ancient Egyptian mummies show tattoos. Pacific Island cultures have practiced it for thousands of years. She pulled up more images. But here is what you need to understand. Tattoos were not just decoration. They served many purposes across different cultures. Some were medicinal, placed over painful joints. Some were spiritual, meant to protect the wearer. Some showed social status or tribal membership. And some were warrior marks, Captain Thoris said. Yes, Professor Lim agreed. Many cultures marked their warriors, but not always in the way you might think. Sometimes the marks showed rank. Sometimes they recorded victories. Sometimes they were given before battle as protection. And sometimes they were tests. Tests? Dr. Velness asked. Professor Lim nodded. To become a warrior in many cultures, young people had to prove they could endure pain. Tattooing was one way to do this. If you could sit still for hours while needles pierced your skin, you could handle battle. The tattoo itself was less important than the process of getting it. Tay felt cold. He remembered sitting in the tattoo shop, refusing to take breaks, determined to prove he could handle it. In ancient Korea, Professor Lim continued, during the Goguryeo period, warriors sometimes marked themselves before major battles. The Hwarang, an elite warrior group in the Silla Kingdom, had rituals involving pain endurance. Later, during the Joseon dynasty, tattoos were often associated with military service and physical strength. Yuna looked pale. Professor, are you saying that modern tattoo culture is based on warrior traditions? Not exactly, Professor Lim said. Modern tattoo culture has many influences. Art, rebellion, fashion, self-expression. But the foundation, the root of the practice, comes from much older traditions, and many of those traditions were connected to proving oneself through enduring pain. She pulled up a chart. Let me show you something else. Human history divided into periods of war and peace. The chart appeared on the screen. It was mostly red, with only tiny sections of blue scattered throughout. Red meant war. Blue meant peace. In the past 3,000 years of recorded human history, Professor Lim said, there have been only about 250 years of peace. That is less than 10%. For 90% of our history, humans somewhere on Earth have been at war. The room was silent. Every major human civilization developed warrior castes, Professor Lim continued. The Spartans, the Roman legions, the Mongol hordes, the Japanese samurai, the European knights, the Aztec eagle warriors, the Zulu impi. Warriors are central to human history. But we have changed, Yuna said desperately. Modern humans are not like that. We seek peace, do we? Professor Lim asked gently. Or have we simply redirected our competitive and aggressive instincts into other areas? Sports, business, academic achievement, video games about combat, movies about war and heroes. She looked directly at Tay through the screen. Mr. Tay, your grandfather was military? Yes, Tay said quietly. He served for 20 years, and you honored him with a tattoo. Why? Because he was strong. He survived difficult times. He taught me to never give up. These are warrior values, Professor Lim said. Strength, survival, perseverance. You carry his words on your body. In ancient times, this would have marked you as part of a warrior lineage. Tay touched his ribs where the script was hidden under his shirt. He had never thought about it that way. Captain Thoris spoke up. Professor, is humanity a warrior species? Professor Lim was quiet for a long moment. That is a complicated question, Captain. Humans are capable of great violence, yes, but also great compassion. We create art and music. We explore and discover. We help each other. We are complex, but the tattoos, Dr. Velness said, the fact that humans voluntarily endure pain to mark themselves. This suggests something about the species' psychology, does it not? Professor Lim nodded slowly. Yes, I think it does. Humans have an unusual relationship with pain and hardship. We seek out challenges. We test ourselves. We push our limits. Even in peaceful times, we create artificial difficulties to overcome. Mountain climbing, marathon running, extreme sports, and yes, tattoos. She leaned forward, her face serious on the screen. Here is what I think. Humans evolved in a very dangerous environment. For hundreds of thousands of years, life was hard. Predators, disease, starvation, rival tribes. To survive, we had to be tough. We had to endure. And I think we carry that in our psychology even now. We prepare ourselves for hardship even when there is no immediate threat. Unconscious preparation for conflict, Captain Thoris said. Perhaps, Professor Lim agreed. Or perhaps we simply have not evolved past our survival instincts. We are still the species that survived the Ice Age, that hunted mammoths, that crossed oceans on primitive boats. That resilience is in our DNA. A new voice came through the communication system. This is Ambassador Krell of the Galactic Council. I have been listening to this conversation. Everyone turned to look at the secondary screen where an alien face appeared. Ambassador Krell looked like a tall, thin mantis with golden skin. His large eyes were unreadable. Professor Lim, thank you for your insights, the ambassador said. But the council has concerns. If humans are unconsciously maintaining warrior traditions, this poses questions about humanity's place in galactic society. What kind of questions? Yuna asked. Questions about trust, the ambassador said bluntly. Humanity requested to join the Galactic Federation 20 years ago. You promised to follow our rules, to seek peaceful solutions, to leave your violent past behind. But if your people still mark themselves as warriors, if you still train yourselves to endure hardship and pain, then perhaps you have not truly changed. Perhaps you are only waiting for the next war. Tay felt anger rising in his chest. That is not fair. We are not planning anything. These are just tattoos, are they? Ambassador Krell asked. Or are they reminders of what you are capable of? Warnings to others? Preparations for future conflicts? Professor Lim spoke up. Ambassador, with respect, I think you are misunderstanding. Yes, humans have warrior traditions in our past, but we also have traditions of peace, of diplomacy, of cooperation. The tattoos are not threats. They are memory. They are art. They are personal choice. But they reveal something about human nature, the ambassador said, something that concerns us. The training deck was built for combat practice. It had padded floors, weapon racks on the walls, and holographic projectors that could create any environment or opponent. Tay stood in the center of the deck, wearing training clothes and feeling nervous. Around the edge of the deck, a crowd had gathered. News of the tattoo situation had spread through the ship, and everyone wanted to see what would happen. Captain Thoris stood at the control panel with Ambassador Krell, who had arrived on the ship an hour ago. Dr. Velness was there with his medical equipment, ready to monitor everything. Yuna stood next to another human, a woman named Juan who worked as the ship's security officer. Juan was tall and muscular, with short black hair and tattoos covering both her arms and her neck. She had been in the Earth military for 10 years before joining the ship's crew. This is ridiculous, Juan said. They want us to fight to prove we are not dangerous? They want to see if the tattoos mean anything, Yuna explained. If they affect how we fight or how we handle pain. Ambassador Krell's voice came through the speakers. Mr. Tay, Officer Juan, thank you for volunteering. This test will help us understand human behavior better. We did not exactly volunteer, Tay muttered. A door on the far side of the deck opened, and 2 aliens walked in. They were Corvins, a species bred for combat sports. They looked like humanoid crocodiles with thick scales, powerful muscles, and sharp teeth. Each one was over 2 meters tall and probably weighed twice what Tay did. You will face these opponents in non-lethal combat simulation, Ambassador Krell said. The fight ends when one side surrenders or is incapacitated. The holographic system will monitor all impacts and prevent serious injury. A Corvin approached Tay. The alien grinned, showing too many teeth. I will try not to hurt you too badly, little human. Tay looked at his opponent and felt fear in his stomach. But he also felt something else. Anger. Determination. He was not going to lose without fighting hard. The other Corvin faced Juan. She rolled her shoulders and cracked her neck, looking completely calm. Begin, Ambassador Krell said. The Corvin lunged at Tay immediately. Tay barely dodged, feeling the air move as the alien's clawed hand passed his face. He stumbled backward, trying to create distance. The Corvin was faster and stronger. Tay knew he could not win in a direct fight. He needed to be smarter. The Corvin charged again, and this time Tay did not dodge. He stepped inside the alien's reach and struck at the knee joint where the scales were thinner. The Corvin grunted in pain and swung down at Tay with both fists. Tay rolled away, came up behind the alien, and kicked the back of the same knee. The Corvin stumbled but did not fall. He turned and caught Tay with a backhand that sent him flying across the deck. Tay hit the ground hard, and pain exploded through his ribs. The holographic safety system registered the impact, but it still hurt. Dr. Velness's voice came through the speakers. "Tay, your ribs are bruised but not broken. Do you wish to surrender?" Tay pushed himself to his feet. His vision was blurry and his side hurt with every breath. But he could see the tiger tattoo on his right arm, the geometric patterns, the words on his ribs that he could not see but knew were there. Never give up. His grandfather's words, no, Tay said. I do not surrender. The crowd watching made sounds of surprise. Several aliens spoke to each other in languages Tay did not understand, but he could guess what they were saying. Why was the human still fighting? He was clearly losing. Tay looked at his opponent and noticed something. The Corvin was favoring his left knee, the one Tay had kicked twice. It was a weakness. He charged forward and the Corvin prepared to catch him. But at the last second, Tay dropped low and swept his leg hard into the injured knee. The Corvin went down with a roar of pain. Tay did not stop. He jumped on the alien's back and wrapped his arm around the thick neck, cutting off air. The Corvin thrashed, trying to throw him off. Tay held on, ignoring the pain in his ribs, ignoring the claws scratching at his arms. He held on because that was what you did. You held on until the fight was over. The Corvin slapped the ground 3 times. Surrender. Tay released him and rolled away, gasping for air. His whole body hurt. Blood ran down his arms from where the Corvin's claws had caught him. But he had won. On the other side of the deck, Juan was still fighting. Her opponent was bigger and stronger, but she was faster. She moved like a dancer, ducking under blows and striking at weak points. Her face was calm, almost bored. Tay realized she had been in much worse fights than this. The Corvin landed a solid punch to Juan's stomach. She bent over and Tay thought she was done. But then she grabbed the Corvin's arm, twisted it in a way that made the alien scream and threw him to the ground using his own momentum against him. The Corvin did not get up. He was conscious but hurt too badly to continue. Both fights are concluded, Ambassador Krell announced. Humans are victorious. The crowd erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered. Others argued loudly. Captain Thoris looked stunned. Dr. Velness rushed onto the deck with medical equipment. He scanned Tay quickly. Bruised ribs, multiple lacerations, mild concussion. You should be in pain. I am in pain, Tay said, wincing. But you kept fighting, Dr. Velness said. Why? Tay did not have a good answer. He just knew that stopping had not been an option. A new figure appeared on the deck. It was a hologram, showing an old alien that Tay had never seen before. The alien looked ancient with gray skin and tired eyes. He wore robes that looked like they came from a museum. I am Dex 9, the hologram said, a combat analysis artificial intelligence. I have recorded this encounter and compared it to thousands of similar matches in galactic history. And? Ambassador Krell asked. The humans displayed several unusual characteristics, Dex 9 said. First, pain tolerance 34% higher than the average for species of similar size and strength. Second, refusal to surrender despite clear disadvantage. Third, adaptive combat strategy that improved during the fight. Fourth, psychological resilience under stress. The AI pulled up data showing Tay's heart rate, brain activity, and hormone levels during the fight. Notice that the human's determination increased as physical damage increased. Most species show the opposite pattern. They become more likely to surrender as injury accumulates. Humans become more stubborn. Is this unusual? Captain Thoris asked. Extremely, Dex 9 said. In 40,000 years of combat records, only 17 species show this pattern. 16 of them are now extinct. Destroyed in wars, they could not stop fighting. The 17th is humanity. The deck went silent. Now observe this, Dex 9 continued. The hologram showed Tay's tattoos glowing with heat signatures. During intense pain and stress, blood flow increased to the tattooed areas. The human's eyes repeatedly looked at his own tattoos between exchanges. Unconscious behavior, seeking reassurance or strength from the markings. Ambassador Krell stepped forward. Are you saying the tattoos affected his performance? I am saying they are connected to the human's psychological conditioning, Dex 9 said. The tattoos serve as anchors, reminders of identity, of past hardship survived, of values and commitments. They strengthen resolve. The AI turned its attention to Juan. This human shows even stronger effects. Military unit insignias, memorial markings for fallen comrades, and personal achievement symbols. She looked at these markings 7 times during combat. Each time her performance improved measurably. Juan looked at her arms, at the tattoos she had carried for years. One was the emblem of her old military unit. Another was a list of names, soldiers who had died in a battle she survived. A third was coordinates, the location where she had saved a civilian's life. They are memories, Juan said quietly. Reminders of who I am and what I have done. Exactly, Dex 9 said. Warrior markings serve the same purpose across all species. They are psychological tools, methods of maintaining identity and determination under extreme stress. Humans may not consciously understand this, but your bodies and minds respond to the markings as if they were military insignia. Ambassador Krell looked troubled. Then the tattoos are warrior marks. Humanity is still following ancient combat traditions. Not necessarily, Dex 9 said. The markings could be warrior traditions, or they could be survival traditions, or both. The key question is not what they were, but what they are now. Explain, Captain Thoris said. In ancient warrior species, these markings were mandatory, Dex 9 said, given to soldiers by their governments or tribes. They had no choice, but humans choose their markings voluntarily. They pay money for them. They endure pain willingly. This suggests a different psychology. The AI paused. Humans mark themselves even in peacetime. They prepare for hardship even when no threat exists. This could mean they are planning for war, or it could mean they have learned from their past and choose to remain strong so they never need to fight again. How do we know which? Ambassador Krell asked. We ask them, Dex 9 said simply. All eyes turned to Tai and Juan. The 2 humans, bleeding and bruised, standing in the center of the training deck with their tattoos visible for everyone to see. Why do you mark yourselves? Ambassador Krell asked. What do these tattoos mean to you? Tai looked at his arms, at the tiger and the patterns and the places where the words were hidden under his shirt. Captain Thoris sat behind his desk, his thick fingers pressed together in front of his face. He was a Dralian, which meant he looked like a bear that walked on 2 legs and wore a uniform. His small eyes studied the holographic display floating above his desk. The display showed Tay's medical scan results with all the red warnings still flashing. Dr. Velness stood on one side of the room. Tay stood on the other, his arms crossed over his chest. Between them stood Yuna, the human cultural liaison officer. She was the only other Korean on the ship, and she looked just as confused as Tay felt. Explain this to me again, Captain Thoris said. His voice was deep and rumbled like distant thunder. Your medical scanner thinks that Tay is a warrior because of his tattoos? Not exactly, Captain, Dr. Velness said. The scanner recognizes the patterns as warrior identification marks. It cross-referenced them with the Galactic Warrior Registry, which contains data from thousands of civilizations across 40 millennia. Yuna stepped forward. Captain, I can explain. Human tattoos are a cultural practice. They are common on Earth. They mean many different things to different people. Art, rebellion, memory, beauty. They are not warrior marks. Captain Thoris touched the hologram and it expanded. Now it showed not just Tay's scan, but dozens of other images. Pictures of aliens from species that Tay had never seen before. All of them had markings on their skin or scales or shells. These are the matches the database found, the captain said. The Kryn Empire, the Vothan Berserkers, the Mothkar Death Squads, the Prelian Honor Guard. 47 different civilizations, all extinct now. All of them marked their warriors with permanent body modifications. Tay leaned forward to look at the images. Some of the aliens had been tattooed like him. Others had brands burned into their skin. Some had scars cut in deliberate patterns. A few had metal implants or bone modifications. But all of them had markings, and all of them looked like soldiers. The tiger symbol, Dr. Velness said, pointing at Tay's shoulder in the hologram. The Kryn only gave this mark to warriors who had killed an apex predator with their bare hands or simple weapons. It was a test of courage and strength. I told you, Tay said. Tigers are important in Korean culture. In our stories and art, it has nothing to do with killing anything. The phoenix, Dr. Velness continued, was used by the Vothan to mark those who survived wounds that should have killed them. Warriors who came back from death itself. Tay felt his face getting hot. I got that after a shuttle accident. It means rebirth, hope, not war. And the script on your ribs, Dr. Wellness said quietly. Ancestral honor marks. Words from warrior bloodlines meant to remind soldiers who they fought for. The room went silent. Una looked at Tay with wide eyes. He had told her about his grandfather before, but she was seeing it differently now. Captain Thoris stood up from his desk. He was huge, nearly 3 meters tall. Dr. Wellness, what were these civilizations like? The ones who used these marks? The doctor touched his control pad and new information appeared. Charts and graphs and historical records. They were all highly militaristic. War was central to their cultures. Most of them expanded aggressively across their regions of space, and all of them eventually destroyed themselves in conflicts they could not stop. And humans? The captain asked. Una spoke up. Humans have fought wars, yes. Many wars throughout our history. But we also have long periods of peace. We have art, science, philosophy. We are not just warriors. How long have humans used tattoos? Captain Thoris asked. Una hesitated. A long time. Thousands of years. Maybe 5,000 years or more. Different cultures developed tattoo traditions independently around the world. Dr. Wellness pulled up more data. I have been researching since the scan. Earth's historical records show that humans have been in a state of warfare for approximately 97% of recorded history. Only 3% has been true peace. Tay felt like he had been punched. That cannot be right. It is, Una said quietly. I studied history. Somewhere on Earth, there has almost always been a war happening. Not always big ones, but conflicts of some kind. Captain Thoris walked around his desk. And the tattoos? What did ancient humans use them for? Una pulled up her own datapad and started reading. Many purposes. Tribal identification, rites of passage into adulthood, recording battles and victories, spiritual protection, social status, punishment for criminals, and yes, warrior identification. She looked up at Tay. The Maori warriors of New Zealand had facial tattoos that showed their rank and achievements. The Dayak people marked warriors after they took heads in battle. Vikings might have had tattoos, though we are not certain. Japanese Yakuza used them to show loyalty and endurance. And in Korea, during the Goguryeo period, warriors sometimes marked themselves before battle. Tai stared at her. I did not know that. Most modern humans do not, Una said. We have forgotten the origins. Now tattoos are just fashion, but the tradition started somewhere. Captain Thoris pulled up an image of Tay standing next to one of the ancient Kryn warriors. The similarities were disturbing. Both had predator animals tattooed on their shoulders. Both had symbols covering their arms. Both stood in similar poses, shoulders back, heads high. There is something else, Dr. Wellness said. I analyzed human biology as part of my research. Humans produce higher than average levels of endorphins and adrenaline during the tattooing process. Your bodies naturally manage the pain better than most species would. It is as if you evolved to handle it. What are you suggesting? Una asked. That perhaps humans developed the ability to endure tattooing because it served a purpose, Dr. Wellness said. Pain tolerance training. A way to prepare young members of the species for future hardship. Tay shook his head. This is insane. You are making it sound like we are all secretly training for war. Are you not? Captain Thoris asked. The question hung in the air like smoke. Una spoke carefully. Captain, I understand your concern, but humans today are peaceful members of the galactic community. We follow the laws. We trade fairly. We respect other species. Yes, the captain agreed. But the question is why? Are humans peaceful because you have changed, or are you peaceful because you choose to be, while still maintaining the capacity for violence? No one answered. The captain walked back to his desk and pressed a button. I am contacting the Galactic Council. They need to know about this. Ambassador Krell will want to investigate further. Investigate what? Tay asked. Whether humans are dangerous because we like tattoos? No, Captain Thoris said. Investigate whether humans are unconsciously preparing for conflict while claiming to seek peace. Every species in the galaxy knows that humans are unusually tough, unusually stubborn, and unusually hard to kill. We thought it was just your biology, but maybe it is something you do to yourselves. Maybe you train for war without even knowing it. Tay looked down at his arms, at the tiger and the geometric patterns. He thought about sitting in the tattoo shop for 8 hours while the artist worked on his back. The pain had been intense, but he had not cried or complained. He had been proud of his ability to endure it. Why had he been proud? Dr. Wellness spoke softly. Tay, I mean no offense. But consider this. You voluntarily let someone stab you with needles thousands of times to put permanent marks on your body. You paid money for this. You endured hours of pain for this, and you are proud of it. Does that not seem strange? Tay wanted to argue. He wanted to say that it was just art, just self-expression, just culture. But the words died in his throat, because maybe Dr. Wellness was right. Maybe there was something deeper going on, something that humans themselves did not understand. What happens now? Una asked. Captain Thoris looked at both humans. Now we wait for the Council's response, and we hope that humanity can prove it has truly left its warrior past behind. But looking at Tay's tattoos, glowing red in the holographic display, no one in the room seemed very confident. 3 days after the fight, Tay sat in his quarters with a communication screen in front of him. His ribs still hurt when he breathed too deeply, and the cuts on his arms were covered with medical patches. But he was healing. The screen showed his sister Nari back on Earth in Seoul. She was in her tattoo shop, surrounded by art on the walls and equipment on the tables. She looked worried. I heard what happened, Nari said. The news is everywhere. They are saying that tattoos might get humans kicked out of the Galactic Federation. It is complicated, Tay said. The aliens think we are secretly preparing for war because we mark ourselves like ancient warrior species used to. Nari frowned. That is stupid. Tattoos are art. Are they? Tay asked. He had been thinking about this question for 3 days straight. Nari, why do people come to your shop? What do they want? His sister leaned back in her chair. Different things. Some want to look cool. Some want to cover scars. Some want to remember something important. Some want to prove they can handle the pain. That last one, Tay said. How many people say that? Nari thought about it. More than you would think, especially young people getting their first tattoo. They want to prove something to themselves, that they are tough, that they are brave. That sounds like warrior training, Tay said quietly. Nari was silent for a moment. Maybe. I never thought about it that way, but you are right. A lot of clients prepare for months. They research the pain. They practice meditation and breathing. They treat it like a challenge to overcome. She touched her own arms, which were covered in colorful tattoos. When I got this one, the dragon on my back, I sat for 6 hours. No breaks. I wanted to see if I could do it. And when it was done, I felt proud. Not because it looked good, but because I had endured it. Why? Tay asked. Why did we need to prove that? Nari shook her head. I do not know. Maybe because modern life is too easy. Maybe because we need to know we can handle hard things if we have to. Maybe it is just human nature. There was a knock on Tay's door. He told Nari to wait and went to answer it. Captain Thoris stood outside looking too large for the corridor. Tay, there is someone who wants to speak with you, the captain said. Someone important. Tay followed the captain to the communication room, keeping the connection with his sister active on a portable device. When they arrived, the main screen showed an alien that Tay had never seen before. The alien was old, incredibly old, with skin that looked like weathered stone and eyes that held thousands of years of memory. I am Elder Witness Kryn, the alien said. His voice was like wind through caves. I am the last of my people. The Kryn Empire fell 800 years ago. Tay felt his breath catch. The Kryn were the ones with the tiger markings. I heard about your medical scan. Elder Kryn continued. About how your tattoos match our warrior marks. I wanted to see for myself. Tay showed his arms, turning so the elder could see the tiger on his shoulder. Elder Kryn was quiet for a long time. It is remarkable. The style is different, but the meaning is the same. The tiger was our symbol of strength and courage. Warriors earned it by facing deadly predators alone. I did not know, Tay said. I got it because tigers are important in Korean culture, because they represent power and protection. The reasons are the same, Elder Kryn said. Only the words have changed. Tell me, human, do you know why my people fell? The records say your empire destroyed itself in civil wars. Yes, the elder agreed. Because we could not stop being warriors. We marked ourselves as fighters from birth. We trained for combat from childhood. We were the greatest military power in our region of space, and then we had no one left to fight but each other. He leaned closer to the screen. We marked ourselves because we had to fight, because our world was dangerous, and our enemies were many. The markings were not choice, they were necessity. And when the necessity ended, we could not let go of the identity. We were warriors, so we needed wars. We created conflicts where none existed because that was all we knew how to be. Tay felt cold. And you think humans are the same? No, Elder Kryn said, surprising him. That is why I wanted to speak with you, because you are different. You mark yourselves even though you do not have to. You choose the pain. You choose the symbols. And most importantly, you choose when to fight and when to stop. The elder gestured at the screen showing Tay's fight recording. I watched your combat test. You won. But you did not continue attacking after your opponent surrendered. Officer Juan was the same. She stopped the moment victory was clear. My people would not have stopped. Once we started fighting, we fought until everything was destroyed. So humans are not dangerous? Tay asked. Elder Kryn smiled, a sad expression. All species are dangerous, young human. The question is whether you can control it. My people marked themselves because they were warriors. You mark yourselves to remember that you can be warriors if necessary, but you choose not to be. There is a vast difference. Ambassador Krell appeared on a secondary screen. Elder Kryn, with respect, how can we be certain? How do we know humans will not follow the same path as your people? Because they are already following a different path, Elder Kryn said. The Galactic Federation has existed for 12,000 years, yes? In that time, how many wars has humanity started? None, Ambassador Krell admitted. And how many times have humans used their military strength to help other species? To rescue ships in distress? To protect trade routes from pirates? Ambassador Krell was silent. The markings reveal what you fear to admit, Elder Kryn said. Humans are strong. They are resilient. They can endure pain and hardship. They train themselves for conflict even in peacetime. But they use that strength to protect, not to conquer. They are warriors who chose peace. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Nari spoke up from the portable device. Elder Kryn, I am Tay's sister. I am a tattoo artist. Can I ask you something? Of course, the elder said. If tattoos are so dangerous, if they connect us to warrior traditions, should we stop? Should humans give up this practice to prove we are peaceful? Elder Kryn was quiet for a moment. That is the wrong question. The markings themselves are not the problem. It is what you do with them. My people let our markings define us. They were chains that held us to an identity we could not escape. But your markings seem different. They are reminders, not commands. They say, this is what I survived, not this is what I must do. He looked directly at Tay. Your grandfather was military, yes? And you honored him with words on your body. Tell me, did those words command you to become a soldier? No, Tay said. He told me to honor my family and never give up, but he also told me to find my own path. He did not want me to repeat his life. He wanted me to learn from it. Exactly, Elder Kryn said. That is the difference. Warrior species mark their young and say, you are a fighter, so you must fight. Humans mark themselves and say, I can fight if I must, but I choose my own path. That choice is everything. Ambassador Krell spoke again. The Council is still concerned. Humanity's military capabilities are formidable. Your people have won every conflict you have participated in since joining the Federation. Because we prepare, Juan said, entering the room. Because we train. Because we understand that strength prevents conflict. No one attacks someone who can defend themselves. But where does it end? Ambassador Krell asked. Today, you prepare for defense. Tomorrow, you have the power to attack. How do we know you will show restraint? You do not, Juan said simply. You have to trust us, just like we trust the Dralians with their military fleet. Just like we trust the Zetherian medical technology that could create plagues, just like we trust every member of the Federation to use their power responsibly. Elder Kryn nodded approvingly. She is right. The Galactic Federation is built on trust, not certainty. If you demand that humans prove they are harmless, you are demanding they become something they are not. Humans are not harmless, but they are honest. They show you exactly what they are capable of, marked on their very skin. That is supposed to be comforting? Ambassador Krell asked. Yes, Elder Kryn said. Because dishonest species hide their strength, they pretend to be weak until they are ready to strike. Humans do the opposite. They advertise their strength, their resilience, their warrior heritage, and then they sit down at the negotiation table and seek peaceful solutions. That takes more courage than hiding. Dr. Velnus entered the room. Ambassador, I have completed my research on human biology and tattoo practices. I have a proposal. Go ahead, the ambassador said. Humans mark themselves voluntarily to commemorate challenges overcome, Dr. Velnus said. I propose we view this not as a warning sign, but as a psychological defense mechanism. Humans tattoo themselves to process trauma, to mark transitions, to claim ownership of their pain. It is a healthy practice, not a dangerous one. He pulled up data on his screen. I have studied mental health outcomes for tattooed versus non-tattooed humans. Those with tattoos show higher rates of recovery from trauma, stronger sense of personal identity, and better emotional regulation. The markings help them heal. So tattoos make humans more stable? Captain Thoris asked. In many cases, yes, Dr. Velnus said. The process of choosing a design, enduring the pain, and carrying the permanent mark helps humans feel in control of their lives and bodies.